Hey, welcome back to another exciting episode of In the Chute. I'm Brandon. That's all that matters. Oh wait, no, Kaylin is here with me too.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
You usually trying to give me some subject with a reasonable amount of uh, ability to articulate myself correctly, and I always do. I come through. What do you got, Kaylin?
Okay. Today we've been doing a lot of recording. We've got a bunch of In the Shoot episodes done and shorts, and this is the last one. So it's going to come out in the beginning or mid-May, and we will be closing in on a big event at the ranch, which is branding. And we'll probably put together a video and have that edited and published shortly thereafter. But I've asked you before with calving in going into March and April, what are some of your preparations for calving? So now I'm going to ask branding. What are some of the preparations, the things, the lead out times for purchases, like anything that goes into the one event. For us, it happens to be one single day, thankfully. Sometimes it does. There's some ranches out there, it takes multiple days at multiple locations because they have that many head of cattle. But for us, what are some of the preparations, all the things that go into leading up to it? Because it's not just the day of. There's a lot of stuff that you got to do beforehand as well.
Well, and for me, it's a separate event, but it's almost like it culminates the end of calving,
Right.
So I like those calves to be several. The youngest ones, I'd like them to be several weeks old, so that they're old enough to be on their own because we're going to take them to summer pasture. So, God, if you start from the beginning, I'm thinking about what cows and calves or what pairs are going to go to which pasture. We got one lease that we send 50 pairs to, and I'm going to pick which ones to segregate because I'm already thinking about which bulls are going to go where. What are we going to do? Are we going to keep any replacement heifers off of those that following year? So I'm thinking about the logistics of who do I want to go where, and so we'll bring them in, and I start making a list of which cow or which pair, because we tag our calves with the same number as a cow. Duh, makes it a little easier to figure out who's who.
Yeah.
And where they go. And then I start thinking about, okay, when we brand, we bring them in and we start separating which calves are going to go where, because I'll start right then is when we segregate our cows and calves. Actually, we'll pull the calves off, separate them first, and then we'll separate the cows are still in the corral. So then we'll run them back down the alley a different way, maybe, and then we'll put these cows, I'll start separating them by number. And I'm thinking about all of this. This is all thinking about what has to be done ahead of time. And so I'll start making this list of which tag number, which cow goes where, and we'll put them in separate pens while we while we brand. And then as that calf comes through the chute, then we send them one way or the other so that they can pair up with their cow, with their mother. And then at the end of it, we've got two separate herds done. Okay, now they can go on to pasture. And sometimes we'll take them that day, or we may wait a few days. Like on the lease, we got to wait till June 1st, so I can hold them in a other pasture until they're ready to go. That's all logistical things I'm thinking about ahead of time, and I'm watching which cows I want. Whom we going to keep, who we going to call, that kind of stuff. So then it comes to the point of, okay, what do I got to do for this? Do I have any corral repairs that I got to do since we culminated all of the shenanigans during the calving time after preg testing and calving and all of that? What do I need to do? And so that happens where I'm, just doing some minor repairs or additions or changes on some corrals, making sure that we can get everything through that alley and up into the crowd chute and efficiently get calves in there so that when we got help, somebody knows what to do. They can do it easily and they don't have to fight something and really struggle getting something done in order to, get through branding.
And you're talking about like for the head catch, if it's catching because there's rust or something, we'll put like WD-40 or some sort of grease in there to get it so it moves easier.
And those are always just maintenance items on a chute or in the alley. Like I got to do a little repair on the end gate in the back of the chute. Some cows have hit that pretty hard and they've bent my track, so I gotta repair that. I gotta fix that. Won't take long, several hours of working on that, and I'll have that back in shape. But that's got to be done. Putting a chute in place. the calf table, because we're not, in a spot where we're can get a lot of wrestlers to wrestle calves and do it that efficiently. So we run them through a chute and onto a calf table. So yeah, like you say, making sure that calf table is good. I had a handle problem with it last year; it just wore out, so I had to rebuild a handle before we did that. That took me half a day to, redo that. Believe it or not, it was not as easy as I thought it was going to be. So making sure that's prepped, and that's the whole reason for it. Prepping those things a week or so ahead of time. I'm buying vaccine for these calves a month or two ahead of time. I want the freshest vaccine I can, but I want to be able to get it.
Right.
And so doing that, getting that stuff ordered, know how many, it's usually when I'm done calving or close to being done calving, I know about how many, doses of vaccine I'm going to need for them. And so you just order it, if we've got, 75 head, I'm going to buy 80 doses and hope that nothing goes wrong and I make it. Sometimes you got 80 head, I'll just buy $100 or 100 dose, vaccines, because it's going to be as cheaper to buy it in that lot size. And then you've got it on hand, and nothing pains me worse than to throw vaccine away. Hate it. So, it's inefficient, but a lot of that stuff we can use. It'll keep until the fall when we do a precondition too. So that's not always a bad thing. Let's see. Getting all that stuff together, putting up some of the panels and stuff in the corral in order to make some of the separations that we want to as we're branding. Getting a hold of people. Hey, we're going to be branding about this day. Are you interested in coming? We'll feed you, which brings up a whole other thing. So this year I have to make my gumbo. That when I was in the oil business, I ran into a lot of people from all over the countries, and there were some that spent some time down in the South, that Louisiana country, and I was able to procure a recipe for gumbo. And anytime you've got a recipe that says, put in a pound of bacon and keep the fat, don't drain anything off, it's going to be good. It's not always heart healthy, but oh my God, is that gumbo good?
Hey, those people down south, I've been there a couple of times. They know how to make some
know
good
how to
fixins.
food. Oof. They know how to do food. Yeah. So, so part of that is how many people you're going to have. You got to feed them. You got to water them. And sometimes that water is, having some beer or wine available for them afterwards.
Yep.
Never. I've seen some
that's
real
probably
wrecks.
Out of all of our rules, that's probably like the number one rule is we always drink stuff after. If we have drank anything, we're not going to go mess with animals unless there's like an emergency where somebody got caught in the fence and we got to pull them out. But other than that, once we drink, we're done for the day.
How many times have you seen me ride a horse and have a beer in my hand?
Never. Yeah. I've never seen it.
Yeah. Or whiskey, or it's always after. Yeah. It's just not a good practice.
The only time I've seen,
not that I'm a teetotaler by any means. It's just smart to do that.
The only time I've ever seen whiskey around the horses was when we were in the backcountry and it was thrown in like saddlebags or a pack, and then it was drank at camp. It was not while we're on the trail or anything.
Right. That's right. No, it's after the fact. You're not going up the road. And I've seen plenty of people horseback and they're drinking beer. I mean, okay. Nope. I mean, of course we have a different perspective of that. We come from a training perspective, not just and enjoying it. And I got nothing wrong with that. I just, when you're working around cattle and branding and things like that, no, that's not going to happen.
Well, we brought it up before. There's hot irons, there's needles, there's potential for knives being there.
Getting run over. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. So it isn't, we've had some younger fellas that were high school age in the past the statute of limitations, where, after a meal, they've been out there and you go out and you're visiting with them. And so you roll a couple of beers across the lawn and say, boy, I don't know what'll happen if those things disappear. Doggone it, I'm not going to run them down. A couple of high school boys are but that's kind of a reward they're not leaving the place. They're staying there, and so that's been kind of something that their dads have giggled about a little bit. So that's pretty funny. But you reward people. So you got to get the right people, not right people, but ones that are there to enjoy it, and you enjoy their company, and it's an event for them and they're helping you out. And that's always a win. So that's, prepping the irons, making sure that you've got propane for your bottles, or your bottles are full, and you You got it. Your branding pots in good working order. You don't have to do any rebuilding of irons or repair irons or whatever. There's all kinds of stuff like that as well.
And then there's the one thing that you didn't talk about, but it is important, is the gathering of the animals too, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's that morning, but there's
Mhm.
also other times where you have to do it the day before because they might be at a further pasture and you got to bring them in closer so that they're
Right.
available, so that you're not people aren't waiting on you essentially for the day of.
Right. Well, and when you tell somebody, oh, we're going to start around 9. For us, we're up at 4:30.
Yeah,
You know,
we're getting
because
things put together.
we're getting stuff put together. We're starting the food for one, depending on what it is, and a lot of times we'll cook the day before, the night before, like that gumbo. That's something I have to prepare, and I got to stick with that thing the night before, and I'm working on it. Let it cool completely, and then, we're ready to fire it back up, add to it just before it goes. But you're up that next morning getting that thing ready too. Um, but yeah, going out and then, you're getting horseback, or you're filling vehicles with fuel so that you can go, or whatever things that you're going to need in them. We like to cake these cows and shake a bucket and they come running. That always helps. When it's just, your mom and I, it's kind of cheating a little bit, but it does help, because I'm usually horseback anyway, or last few years has been Braden and I that's been horseback, and because you're off just doing nothing in the military, so avoiding work at home.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. You're bringing those in from a bigger pasture into a smaller one. We're kind of a holding pasture in a way, so that it's easier to bring them in, efficient, quick, and you can get them in and usually have most of the sorting done before everybody gets there.
Right. Well, with that, we will put the branding preparations out to pasture.